The efforts at reducing poverty have been dominated by a market-driven approach. The idea has been governments have failed and markets will help reduce poverty. At a macro level, there was a view that if we liberalize the economy and we get economic growth, wealth will somehow trickle down to the poor. Yeah. Well, that has clearly not worked. Yeah. Or at least if it works, it's way too slow and the poor are too impatient for this. And so these policies are often called the so-called Washington consensus, and that has been rejected by a lot of countries now. Then this view was modified a little to say that maybe markets will work, but at a micro level rather than a macro level. And one of the most famous attempts in this direction is microfinance, where the view is that give the poor people a small loan and they will start a business and climb out of poverty, sort of bootstrap themselves out of poverty. Well, the wisecrack is it's very difficult for the poor to bootstrap themselves out of poverty because they don't have boots in the first place. Yeah? And I think this is too romantic a view that the poor will just climb out of poverty. The second big movement I think that has not worked either is the so-called bottom of the pyramid approach to reducing poverty, which argues that companies can make money by selling things to the poor and help the poor in the process. Yeah. Now, this was a very seductive proposition. It said you can become rich and become a saint all at the same time. And I think this doesn't work either.
So what are these effective strategies then?
I think there are two critical issues here. The first one is, and by far the most important issue in reducing poverty, is to create jobs. So if you ask a poor person, what is the one thing that you would really like? I think the most common answer you get is get me a job. The poor are not so much entrepreneurs, they would like to get a job. And they are no different than the rich in this sense. So if you look at a rich country, 90% of the workforce in a rich country works for a salary. They don't choose to be self-employed. And the poor are no different. So I think the first issue is we have to create jobs. The second critical issue is I think we have to provide basic public services to the poor, like clean drinking water, sanitation, education, public health, some public security. That without these basic services, it's very difficult for the poor to do anything, even live. So if a poor person is dying of malaria, it's no use telling him that he should work harder. We've got to first figure out that he shouldn't be suffering from malaria. And it is the role of the government to provide these basic